Hi, Democrats. Today is Monday, July 10th, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Live. Happy Monday. It's Monday, it's the summer, and so I have to start out by talking about gun violence. As of Saturday, July 8th, 2023, there have been over 22,000 deaths from gun violence in the United States. 22,000 as of Saturday. 12,000 of those, just over 12,000 of those, were as a result of suicide. We've got to get a handle on gun violence, gun usage, gun storage, common sense gun laws in our nation. That is crazy town that there are that many deaths by something that a lot of that could be preventable. In Oklahoma, just this weekend, in the last 72 hours, there were 4 different shooting incidences just in Oklahoma. 2 of those were in Tulsa. There was a guy inside of a motel here in Tulsa who was shooting outside of his motel room and shot someone who was driving by, shot her in the head. She didn't have anything to do with him, anything, just random. She caught a bullet in the head. And then there was a young man who was in an abandoned house with 4 of his friends who, according to reports, shot himself in the head in an abandoned house here in Tulsa. There were 4 other people present, but right now what we know is that he shot himself in the head by accident. We've got to get a hold of the gun situation in our state. Now I'm going to move on and talk about more national news. Gun news makes me sad because I think it's wholly preventable. But let's go to national news. Some good, some not so good. So let's start out with not so good. The survivors, the 3 known living survivors of the Tulsa race massacre, had a civil lawsuit against the city of Tulsa for reparations. A judge found last Friday, a judge dismissed the case without prejudice, meaning that the case can't be brought again. My suspicion, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a descendant. My suspicion was they kept dragging it out, hoping that they would just wait out the survivors. 2 of the survivors are 108 years old. And I think they just thought if we just keep kicking the can down the road, we don't have to deal with this. So they couldn't keep waiting. So what they decided was they dismissed it with prejudice, meaning it can't be brought again. Other news about the race massacre. I talked about this on Friday. The superintendent of public instruction was caught on film saying that he believes that we should teach about the Tulsa race massacre, but we should not make the emphasis on race, and that we should talk about not that it happened as a result of the color of one's skin, but it happened as a result of the behaviors of individuals. Well, it was a mob. It was a whole bunch of individuals, and then when they get together, they don't get to be called individuals anymore. They're a mob who all behaved in such a way because of their race and because of the race of the folks that they were attacking. It's that simple. I've had people call me and quibble with me about, he didn't say that it wasn't about race. What he said was, we got to talk about individuals, and we're not going to try to make kids feel bad. There's not a known kid that we're talking about alive today. Well, there's not a kid alive today who participated in the violence of the Tulsa race massacre. There are folks who lived through the violence that we know about, but there aren't people who participated in it, because anybody who participated in it were adults and are no longer living. And so hearing about the bad behavior of people who are no longer living should not make the children who are in school feel bad. The argument is bad. I wish he would stop making it. But he's been making it all over national news. And as I promised you guys, every time I have to talk about him because he wants to be on the news. He was on Newsmax, for Pete's sake. Is that even a real channel? He was on Newsmax. So he is trying to get on the news. So every time I talk about him, I'm going to remind you that he's the superintendent of public instruction who is working to undermine public education in the state of Oklahoma. He is not applying for the grants that could fund public education. He's been a huge proponent of the vouchers now, tax credits that will take public dollars, will take tax dollars meant for public schools and put them into private schools. He is derelict in his duty. He needs to be impeached, and he is a camera hound. Every time I mention him for the thing he wants to be mentioned for, I'm going to remind you that he's divisive and derelict. He's divisive and derelict. He keeps using words that are meant to divide us instead of unite us, and he's not doing his job. Okay, I'm just going to keep my promise. Every time I talk about him, I'm going to remind you that he's not doing his job. Good news. Oklahoma ranked as one of the safest, as a state that has one of the safest, most secure election systems in the nation. So later when you hear people squawk about, voter fraud, blah, 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 know that Oklahoma has a safe, secure election system. And as somebody who used to be a precinct worker, I agree with this assessment. I agree. I saw it firsthand. I did it for years and years. We have a safe, secure process. So good news. Yay, Oklahoma. Yay. There you go, Angela. There's your good news. Because I have another piece of not so good news. Oklahoma is number 6 in the most expensive state for energy. Now, we pride ourselves on being an energy state. We're an oil and gas state. We have all the wind that you can imagine. We pride ourselves on being an energy state, but somehow we're number 6 in the most expensive. It feels like we are being taken advantage of because we are a large producer. We let them negotiate the terms, which means that we are paying more than states that don't produce energy. Go figure. I want to end today on good news. What I believe to be good news. Senator Montgomery in Senate District 32, which is down in Comanche County, Lawton, Cache, down in that area, that Senator Montgomery tendered his resignation. He's a Republican. He tendered his resignation effective August 1st. He wasn't run out. There is no scandal. He just got another job. But he tendered his resignation effective August 1st. What that means is that Democrats have a shot in a special election to elect a state senator. I'm excited about that. I think it's great news. I spent the weekend recruiting candidates, talking with the state Senate leadership. I'm very excited about this race. We have an opportunity. We have a real opportunity. So if you're watching this, I want you to keep your ear out. In the next week or so, we're going to be rolling out ways that you can help, regardless if you live in Lawton or Cache or any of those, Elgin, any of those places at all. There is a way that if you live in the Panhandle, if you live in Tahlequah, there is a way that you could help in this race, and we're kind of rolling that out. So be on the lookout of how you can help this race. We have a shot. Democrats do well in special elections if we work. And so I'm calling everybody who is watching me. I'm calling on you to be ready to help us win this election. We have a shot to gain a seat in the state Senate. I'm very excited about that. And I'm not going to keep rambling because I really want to end on a good note. We have a seat at we have a shot at a state Senate seat. Great news. Now, I will be back here tomorrow at 4:15, but I encourage you to join Scott Hamilton on the Hamilton Report this evening at 6:30, where he's going to be talking about how you can use your privilege the right way. Thanks for joining me.